If you ever wanted to append something to the head of your HTML document that's produced from Edge, I'm going to show you how to do it. Now the thing is, when Edge went to version like 5 something, it dropped its dependency on jQuery. That's why you have to add the script when there's certain things that you want to do. Well, one of the things it didn't leave out of its runtime was append. So you can do some things with append, like append an external CSS sheet, or add a meta tag to the head, or append some text to the end of something. Now remember, when we use append, it appends to the end of whatever tag we're using. So I, again, as always, have set up a basic stage. This is just a text element called text and a rectangle called rectangle. I know, clever. So the other thing I did here is I'm going to open up my code window because we're going to need it anyway, is I added some text to my rectangle, some HTML text, so you'd be able to see it. So I'll just, see, it says this is also text and this is text. Alright, so what do we need to do? It's pretty easy. Now, one of the things I created was a CSS, standard CSS sheet right here. And I gave the HTML a background color of green. The rectangle, notice it's not just called rectangle in here, it's pound because it's an ID, and stage underscore rectangle. And you'll see, and I also created a class name selected. Now the one thing you have to understand when you're using a appended CSS sheet is that it doesn't always act the way you think it should. You do not have control over every property. You only have control over the properties that have not been defined, which you'll see as we go. So I have that CSS sheet. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save this so that the CSS and the HTML are all in the same thing. So I'm going to go File, Save. Let's see, Save. And I'll call this the append. Clever as I am. Now, I've got some other stuff in this folder, so I've got an append folder. And here's my CSS sheet called the css.css. Clever naming. If you want this, if I leave this the way it is, which is save in folder, it will not include this CSS, which we'll have to move. If I uncheck this, it will not be in a separate folder, and it'll be all together. Just so you know. The CSS sheet has to be in the same folder as your Edge stuff. So I'm going to leave this, and I will actually move things around, so I'm going to save it. So inside that folder, you will note that I created the folder, which we just named it, called the append, and when you open it up, there is no CSS in there. So I can just drag and drop it. Simply go like that. Or I can copy it and drop it in. That'll work too. But I'm just going to move it, drop it in, and that's it. So now it's in here, and I'll be able to reference it when I do my append. Which means, let's just jump back to Edge. There we go. So, first thing I need to do is let's append that CSS sheet. We want to stick it on the end of the head. You know, it's a standard HTML page, so we'll go $, open parentheses, open double quotes, close parentheses, dot append, A-P-P-E-N-D, open parentheses, open single quote, close parentheses, semicolon. Now we just have to fill it in. Of course, that's the easy part, right? So the first question is, what are we trying to affect? The head. And what are we appending? Well, we're going to append a link, an HTML link, to our CSS sheet. So we'll open an angle bracket, link, rel equals, in double quotes, style sheet, close the double quotes, type, T-Y-P-E, equals, in double quotes, it's a text /CSS, close the double quotes, and the href, H-R-E-F, equals, open double quotes, and in our case it's the CSS.CSS, close the double quotes, / close the angle bracket. That's it. Now if I did it right, which I didn't because there's a, there we go, fix that. Now let's go look at it in the browser, and you can see everything I added worked. The background's green, the text is, I don't even have to look to see if it's attached, but I will. So I'm going to look under my development under the web inspector, and you can see right here, there it is, there's my CSS. And if you look at the head, we'll open up the head, you can see all the way down here at the bottom there's the attached CSS sheet. That's pretty easy, right? But you're going to notice something. We had other things attached to this and they didn't do anything, like the background color, that kind of thing. So let's take a quick look. Now you'll notice that I had a background color on that rectangle and it didn't turn green. I had a font size, that worked. I had a font color, that worked, but this didn't. So with this not being the right, being selected like that, because it already has a rectangle that has a gray background, it's not going to affect it. Why? Well, it's the way CSS works. That's the closest to the actual tag, because if you look at, let's open up the, and here we go. Here's the rectangle, and you'll notice that right after that it has all the style. The closer the style is, the more that it's going to affect it. So there are things in here I can't affect, like it can't affect the margin, nor the left or the right or the top or the width or the height, and any of those things that are already listed in here. I cannot affect them. Well, we can do some other things with Append. We could add a span tag. Now we can add some extra text to our the HTML and the rectangle. Again, we go to the code window, code, and we can do it this way. So we would go SYM $, because we're going to talk directly to one of the elements. Open parentheses, open double quotes, close close parentheses, dot, append, open, single quote, close. There we go. So what am I going to go for? I'm going to try for the rectangle. And what I want to do is I want to append some text to the end of that HTML, but it has to be in an HTML tag. So I'm just going to use the span tag, SPAN. And the text in there, I'll put hello. How are you? Question mark. And then I will close the span tag. And we'll test it. And hello, how are you are added. Easy enough, right? So we can do that. That one was really close. We would have to add a non-breaking space, but that's, you know, you figure that one out yourself. Let's add a meta tag to the head. So the thing is, you would think, let's do it up here, you would think you could just make a comma and add it. You can't. It doesn't work that way. But I'm lazy, so I'm going to copy this. And I am going to duplicate it. And I'm just going to change what's going to go inside here. So I don't have to type as much. So I want to put a meta tag. So I'll put meta. And the name of the meta tag equals, and in double quotes it would be description. Hopefully I spelled that right. DESCRIPTION. Oh, good. That's close enough for me. It's pretty good. That's going to have double quotes around it. It's kind of, for me, that's great to spell it right. And then we're going to have content equals, you know, this will help you with your CSS. This is going to go in double quotes, and this is going to be the page that answers the append question. Close the double quotes and close the angle bracket. We should have an angle bracket actually up here in front of meta. If you don't do that, it doesn't work. So let's go test a command. Now here's one time you can't see it, so let's open up that developer and we'll flip down the head, and you can see at the bottom after the style link, here's our meta tag, and it goes right in there. That's a really important tag, so don't forget to put it in. And so that's basically how you can use the append tag, or the append, to your advantage, and give it a shot and see how it works.